Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady coming to you from my heated shed as I prepare for a really cold forecast. We're now going to get down to 21, which in theory could potentially really be the upper teens. And with everything being, kind of actively growing, we've been frost free for a few weeks, the damage will be significant. So I am actually going to bring more bring more plants inside. Yesterday when I saw 25, I was kind of like, oh, that's no big deal. But the forecast changed overnight and I'm going to be out of town. I have to leave in a few minutes. So I'm just going to scramble around the garden and bring in whatever containers I can pick up, bring them into this heated shed and also into my house. And some of the larger pots that have finally recovered from the cold snap that we experienced in early January are really looking great. I'm going to go ahead and at least try to invert some pots over top of those large containers in an attempt to protect the plants from, further cold damage. All of it's kind of just a desperate attempt to feel like you're in control when we're totally not. But that's sort of the plight of a gardener. So I hope you'll find this video all about protecting your container gardens to be a helpful resource, and know at the end of the day that this is one of those things that all gardeners have in common. We all hate cold snaps at this time of year. I'm going to go ahead and do the inverted pot method here. These are, of course, some of the pots that I use for making floating flower arrangements. Put them to use in a different purpose this time. This hanging basket is just too pretty to leave outside, so this is actually going to come in and adorn my kitchen. That's the rational thing to do, right? Again, these are all cool season vegetables, but you see they're really quite tender. That parsley might get damaged. I'm not going to do anything to these two terracotta pots because they're right up next to the house. They're sort of in a microclimate. However, these ones out here in the driveway, I think will really benefit from having the pot over them as protection. Let's see how it fits. This mustard's a bit tall. Basically something like that. Now you could rebar these in if you want to make sure they don't blow off. I'm in a time crunch, so I'm probably not going to be able to do that. The barley wall should be fine. Obviously it's not hooked up to the hose, but barley is really, really cold hardy. The main thing with these pots, in addition to the fact that they are tender, they're growing with tender development, these are not tolerant of sudden cold. The name of it is escaping me right now. So I just need to find another big pot to slip over this. And I'm not going to do anything to these. Earlier this week, I was even thinking about tearing these up and getting them replanted. I'm glad I didn't go plant shopping. It's still too early. But if these get sacrificed, it's not the end of the world. I'll just use that as an opportunity to put in something new. Well, this big pot that I had a hose stashed into is perfect. It fits actually quite snug over top of that. So I'm feeling pretty good about these two containers at the very least. It is remarkable how being able to just keep the frost off of the plants will really help preserve them. And I really look forward to sharing an update with you all on Monday when I get back to town during my weekly garden tour. So that's when we'll really be able to evaluate the cold damage from this sudden cold snap in the middle of March. Now, I had a question about how my bushel and berry plants are doing, and I don't actually have any blueberries from that program. I'm hoping to get some this spring. This is a blackberry that you see is fully leafed out. I'm going to go ahead and bring this into the heated shed. I'm leaving the strawberries outside in their containers uncovered. I have faith the strawberries will be okay. But anything that has this much foliage on it already, you know, if I have the place and ability to store it to avoid the cold damage, I might as well. So this is gonna come inside. Well, you can see the heated shed is filled up pretty quickly. Very grateful to have this space, to be able to overwinter lots of things that I like to be able to keep from year to year, but also to stash things that are actively growing at this season when we frequently have random cold spells that just cause a lot of damage and stress. I'm not going to win any awards with this Akabono Edgeworthia. You can see this is the red flowering form of what I call pepifera. But I'm also not going to let the cold weather get to it. So I'm definitely starting to go above and beyond what I was telling myself I would do yesterday. I guess this is just the plight of being a gardener. We generally have a rule about no plants in the garage, but I'm gonna make an exception for the Akabono. It's not like it's the happiest plant ever. It was in the ground for a number of years, and I think root knot nematodes got into it. So I dug it up, I potted, I bare rooted it, and I potted it, and it's done considerably better. It'll need to be repotted this year. The key here is that it's got to be in a pot that is movable for occasions like this. So it's going to be the sole plant in the garage during this cold spell. There have definitely been other times, like in April, when I end up filling every open space in here with summer seedlings, very specifically of tomatoes. But thankfully I have not started any summer stuff because it's way too early. I'm gonna keep saying that over and over again so that I can discourage all of you from jumping the gun and causing yourself a lot of extra work. So I'm leaving all of these as is, I'm not covering. I did tuck a bunch of stuff into the mist chamber and lowered the plastic, and that should definitely help keep things protected here. And I have brought in a few extra containers to the greenhouse because this 50% shade cloth will help to a degree. I mean, it's not gonna prevent it from getting frosted, but it will help a little. Now over here where I've had some, well, first of all, look, there's a few little cauliflowers that recovered after that January frost. I'm just gonna go ahead and harvest it and eat it. First, check for any cabbage worms. And over here where the poppies and potatoes are planted, I'm not worried at all about the poppies, but where I saw tender growth on potatoes, I went ahead and inverted pots onto those containers. And you can even just use a saucer like this. You see under the saucer, nice development of foliage there. Again, if this was 25 degrees, I wouldn't do any of this. But at 21, in my mind, 21 could equal 18. I won't regret this little bit of effort that I'm putting forth to help protect these plants. Well, I will say one thing I hope for is this cold snap will go ahead and kill all these aphids that are on the barley. I've never had this issue before, and if the cold snap doesn't do it, I'll be out here spraying my homemade insecticidal soap, which will be a great video for me to share with you because it's a really easy thing to make and it's very effective. Once again, when you're growing cool season crops, you don't have to worry. All of these plants will be fine. The grains are actually hardy to like -15. So 25 degrees won't cause any damage to any of these container plants. And this is exactly why I try to encourage everybody to lean into the season and grow things that are going to be tolerant of the realistic environment that you live in, which in zone 7 is freezing temperatures in March. Well, I don't get any pleasure from making videos about this, but I do hope all of the videos in my Spring Cold Snap playlist will be useful to you in some context. And I just wish you all the best for not having a lot of damage to your gardens. Thanks so much for watching, everybody.